When what worked stops working, I point purpose-driven leaders to Prolific, the growth firm. They turn plans into results with full-service marketing and strategy, focused on outcomes, not vanity metrics. Head to prolifichq.com to learn more.
Success for me is having an opportunity to compete. If I have an opportunity to compete, I like my chances. I have to put myself, the community, the city has to give people opportunities. I believe in people, and I believe when given the correct opportunity, they will succeed. But we have to make sure as a community, it takes a village. And when you have the right village, you can succeed.
Hi, I'm Dave Neff, host of Talent Scout. On this show, we shine a light on Indiana's next generation of leaders who are making a difference in business, community, and civic life. These are real conversations about purpose, mentorship, and building a future that matters. Join me as we invest in leadership that lasts. Welcome back to another episode of Talent Scout. I am so excited for today's guest, my good buddy, A.T. Simpson. A.T. is a regional manager for McFarland, which is a national construction management firm, which we'll get into that story a little bit later. But, you know, A.T. and I, we really didn't know each other till a little bit over a year and a half ago through some of the work I've done alongside Purdue Athletics, running Boilermaker Alliance. He's a proud Purdue alum. But even before we get into that chapter of his life, A.T., I'd love to, you're an Indianapolis native, a child of this city, have a long history here with your family. Mm-hmm. I'd love for you to just share what it was like growing up here, just being part of your family. What do you recall of your childhood?
Yeah, thank you, Dave. It was pretty awesome. I look at Indianapolis as a special, awesome, wonderful place, contrary to belief. And, they say Indianapolis, and in particular Indiana, our biggest asset is what we export out, right? And so for me, it was important to stay home in Indianapolis, right? And so I learned that from my grandparents and my parents. And so I grew up on the east side of Indianapolis, right around 38th and Emerson, came from a two-parent home. My dad was in the public space and the private space, and my mom was a nurse. And so I was the only child for 8 years, and then my lovely sister, Shayla Simpson, came around. So my dad was Addison Simpson Sr., my mom, Nellie Smith Simpson. And so, my dad is one of five, and my mom was one of nine. And so our families got together every weekend, every other weekend. We did things together. So you can imagine the footprint we had across the city of Indianapolis. And so I have aunts and uncles on every side of town and every nook and cranny. And so it was just a great time to be alive. And with that came some great history. So some of that history that I have is my grandmother is 98 years old, and she's still alive and very feisty. And as far as we know, she's the oldest the oldest living person who worked at the Madam C.J. Walker facilities.
Very cool.
So she knew Madam C.J. Walker.
Wow.
My mother's sister was she's my godmother's she's 90. She's a nun, and I come from a big Catholic family on both sides. She was the first African American baby born at St. Vincent. Right.
Wow.
And so when you start having things like that, where you can talk about being the first and opportunities like that, it just cascaded out. And so for me, Indianapolis is a near and dear place. And I think that as I was going through my pursuits of life, I always, it would be foolish of me to leave the roots and try and go to another city and try to explain that I'm a big deal here, man, but I moved, you know what I'm saying? So for me, just growing up was awesome. It was Indianapolis on the east side, and just Indianapolis in general has always been special to me, right? And so I look at it and I say, man, I saw the development of Indianapolis when I was born. 1980s is my birth year, but just to see those things, and went to St. Andrews, and so predominantly African-American school, and then obviously went to Cathedral, but you got to see those things. You got to witness CYO, like you and I have talked about, you get your blessings when you go to JTV Hill, Municipal Gardens, and play in the inner city, man. So just some of those things, the Dad's Club, all those things was just Indianapolis was just was an awesome place, man. And so all parts of town and everybody was very proud of where they came from. So to your point, man, Indianapolis to be the native son of Indianapolis is pretty awesome. So
that's really cool.
Yeah.
Well, as we talked, JTV Hill, my son is now playing in a league there at 17th and Columbia through the Oaks Academy and Tab, and Man, they just don't build gyms like that anymore. That's not Grand Park,
Yes,
right?
right. That's right, man. You had to earn your stripes there, man.
Yeah.
You know, and to that point, St. Rita's, we used to come down and play St. Rita's when we were there, and then JTV Hill, we play in the summer, and man, that was where you earned your stripes, man, and those stripes made you who you were. So to your point,
that's great. Yeah. Well, tell us some of the things you're involved in. I mean, I want to get in. You're obviously sports was something you gravitated toward. Did your parents just put you in a bunch of things? I know you were a basketball player at a pretty high level, obviously a high-level football player, went on to play at Purdue. But talk to us about athletics or some of the other things that you were involved in growing up.
Yeah, so CYO was big. Honestly, you know, come from a big family, so we invested a lot of time and energy and legacy in CYO. So you can imagine the cheering sections that I had in CYO and in these small gyms, you know. And so that was a good way for us to learn the city and go and play against, you know, different schools on different sides of town. And so sports has always been what I call my love language, right? And so my dad and I that was where we really groomed our relationship, the father-son relationship, right? And so there was a lot of learning and a lot of talk and a lot of opportunities. And so sports was kind of the carrot my dad would dangle to get my attention. I would ask why, right? You know, why would this team play this type of defense against me or the team I'm playing against? What did it look like? So he used that to pique my interest. And so back then we didn't have phones. We would drive everywhere, right? And so we would listen to talk radio. And so that we would kind of learn politics and sports, and that was kind of our love language. And then we'd come home and mom would have some good food, and we'd talk about life and continue. And mom would ask, you know, how did we do? And she would go to my games, but I was just thinking about times when we traveled in sports around that nature. And so then we traveled the state of Indiana and around the country. And so then you start having some success. Yeah. And you learn how to compete, right? And so that was one of the things that I feel like my upbringing and my family, we learned how to compete, whether it be dancing or playing cards or having talent shows at cookouts, right? I think that it fostered an opportunity for me not to be scared of the stage and be able to go. And one of the things that I learned in my family and has helped me, and my wife and I, we talk about it with our daughters, not being afraid to succeed, right? And I think that, and we talked about it with your kids, is it's okay to tell your kids you're good, right? You don't have to beat them up all the time, right? So that was one of the things that sports taught me was it's okay to be special, right? And so that's the language that my family poured into me, is I'm special, right? And so I pour that into my wife and my daughter, that we're special and it's okay. And to your point, when you're the native son of Indianapolis, you get that, and the city gets behind you, and it becomes a pretty special movement, right? And so
I've seen Avery on the soccer field. She is special. Your daughter.
We invest in Avery, but it's a balance, right? And I will say my wife and I, Aaron, we have the one child, and it's a daughter, and the good Lord know I needed a daughter, right? And so being a girl dad is special, and so just being able to grow those things through sports has been good, and academics has been important to me too. So,
well, I want to talk before we get too far down the sports track. I never had the pleasure of meeting your father. I know he left us a few years ago, but I know he was a large figure in your life and in the city of Indianapolis's life. I believe he worked for Governor Governor O'Bannon administrations, maybe some others I'm leaving out. But, you know, what were his roles? And could you maybe share with us a few things you learned just observing your father, you know, and how he moved about the city in those different roles as a child?
Yeah, I think the thing I learned from my dad, and this is why I have such appreciation for you, Dave, is my dad knew how to work a room, right? He knew how to make everybody feel special. And so when I lost my dad, he had MS. And so I lost him a little premature, but God was ready for him to come home. He made everyone feel special, right? And so I tell people I shared my dad with the community, and I was okay with that, right? And so he worked in the O'Bannon administration. He was over the minority business program, and then he had some executive director opportunities through both administrations, and then he went to the private side and worked for Viola Water, right? Oh, wow. So what I learned from my dad was community is important, right? It doesn't matter your political affiliation. People are who they are. And so I was able to see that when I went from St. Andrews to Cathedral to Purdue, right? It's about the person, right? Race is always going to be there. And so he would, every Sunday, every day, that's back in the day when they had the Star and the News. It was two newspapers. It got delivered twice, right? And so we would read the Star and the News. We'd read the IBJ. We'd read the Indianapolis Recorder. And so I learned the cadence of learning how to read the city-state section, the business section, what was going on in the community, tying it back to business. And now I'm armed with what's important. Now I can go and meet these people. I can go and introduce Avery to Dave Neff, right? And knows how to. And so I really learned those things from him. And so for me, it's a good time to share these things. And I thank you for the opportunity to talk about him, because I didn't think that I would be living life without him and achieving the things that I am. So for me to be able to do this is really therapy for me to kind of highlight him and the things that he did, and with the support of my family and my mom's side of the family and things. So I appreciate this opportunity to do that for sure.
That's great, man. Well, I know he'd be extremely proud of you, and you're carrying on his legacy in a really strong manner. So, now I want to talk a little bit about. I know we'll shut the yearbook here in a little bit, but we'll keep it open just for a minute. You were a top 10 wide receiver coming out of high school, out of Cathedral High School. Really, as I've done my research, All-American status, and you were also quite the basketball prospect, and could have played either, right, in college at the D1 level.
Yeah.
You end up choosing Purdue, and I know you and I have talked. You had thought you were going to North Carolina at one point, and there were some other schools that were after you. But maybe tell us what that experience was like, getting the recruiting letters, deciding, do I want to do football, do I want to do basketball, and really choosing a college, landing on Purdue. How did that come about?
Yeah, it's a great question, man. Coming out of, I talk about sports being at the forefront, so I come out of St. Andrews and go to Cathedral. And so true story is I'm a freshman, and my dream was to play basketball. I'm from Indiana. We play basketball in Indiana. And I go to a Cathedral's first varsity football game, and I hear the announcer calling some people's names on the intercom. This person made a play, this person made a play. And I'm like, there's no way that my name shouldn't be getting called. I see these guys in school and I'm like, I think I can do this. And so I go to Cathedral. We were getting ready to do basketball conditioning. I'm like, I do not want to run basketball conditions on the track that we had. It wasn't necessarily the best track that we have now. And I'm like, I got to figure this out. So I go and I say, hey, I think I want to play football. And the rest is history. And so Coach Kaufman and Coach Strife were there and got me some pads, and I got my 10 practices in. And next thing I know, I'm playing varsity football as a freshman. Wow. So that was pretty enlightening. And I will share this. This is back in the day. People know me. I had the goggles, man. I was people make
like
fun of me. Yeah, the rec spec, the real goggles, man. Yeah, they were prescription. So it's pretty wild I'd imagine to see a kid, I got contacts when I was a junior, I think, but it's pretty wild to see a kid break the huddle with goggles, and you're like, there's nothing this guy's going to do to me. Then he has a day on you. You know what I mean? And so played AAU basketball. I played for Speece, and so we traveled the country, had a great team.
Speece,
we won national championships, I think, 3 years, and so every 3 years in a row. And so everybody on that team went Division I basketball, except for me.
Wow.
So and so it became into the recruiting process. This is back in the day when they had bigger receivers. And so the Plexico Burrs is of the type. And so I was a parade All-American, and so I think there were 4 of us. And so I'm getting recruited pretty heavily, and 2 of the guys go to Michigan. 1 guy goes to Penn State, and I end up choosing Purdue, right? And so I was originally ready to commit to North Carolina, ironically. And Coach Mack Brown took the job at Texas. And he said, you want to come to Texas? And I said, no. And Purdue had just hired Joe Tiller. And so it was, I remember Coach Saban coming to the house. Coach Saban's coming to 38th and Emerson and having dinner with us. And so it was a
Where
great
was
time.
Saban at that time?
Coach Saban was at Michigan State. Right then.
That's right.
So it was an awesome time. And one thing I do want to share is as you go through the recruiting process, I learned so much about myself, but also some habits that I carry with me now was, I hope kids who are getting recruited, and I know it's a different thing now, but these institutions invest so much time into detail. And I learned that the details really matter, right? And so when these coaches of these Power 4 programs, top-tier programs, are coming into your house, into your neighborhood, and they ask your mom, how her sister's doing and they know her name. Or they ask your dad how his brother or mother's doing and they know the name and they know what kind of food your mom likes and things. So it really taught me like, wow, detail is extremely important. And it also taught me how to make tough decisions, right? Because you get recruited and you can see yourself at every school.
Yeah.
And you've had relationships with these schools for the past 18 months. And they've invested in you. You know their kids and their family. You know the cadence. You talk to them after big wins, and they say, we need you to come be a part of it. And you talk to coaches after big losses, and they say, hey, we need you to come change the fortune. And so you learn, man, I've got to learn how to make tough decisions and have it. My dad couldn't make the call. My mom can't make that call. You got to call and say, Coach.
Did you have any family connections to Purdue? Anybody in your family?
So it's a great question. So I didn't have a true exposure to Purdue. I knew it was a great construction and agriculture school. And I had desires to participate in agriculture or construction from the exposure that my dad and I saw reading the paper and the relationships that he had. But my exposure to Purdue was big dog. Big dog versus Allen Henderson. You know what I mean? So I was it was on the basketball side, but it was one of the best decisions I made in my life.
Wow.
So, appreciate it.
Well, I know we could do a whole episode on Purdue football and you played with some great teams, and what I do want to ask you about the Rose Bowl, but maybe Coach Tiller, I know who passed away a few years ago, but arguably one of Purdue's greatest coaches. What was maybe a lesson? I know he wasn't necessarily an easy guy to play for, right? And oftentimes the greats aren't. But what was maybe a lesson or two that you gleaned from playing under Coach Tiller, or maybe even some of your teammates? I mean, you played with Drew Brees, obviously a NFL Hall of Fame quarterback. Just maybe a lesson or two just from leadership during that time in college.
I think that winners win. Right? You lead from the front, you lead from the back, you have to lead. I think he was big on discipline, right? And so one of the things that he taught me was, man, your body can do so much more than your mind. And he didn't care if he offended isn't the word. He didn't care if he upset the apple cart a little bit to get the result he needed. Up to when the coaches, I think I was reading the article and they were like, the year we went to the Rose Bowl, we practiced outside like leading up until we left, right? But his thing was, take your mind to another level, right? And so as you talk about, in business or parenting, in life, like your mind can capture so much, man. And so he really fed the team's ability to compete, right? I mean, we won some games we had no business winning. We came back and won games we had no business winning. So it was he really created the mindset of winning, right? The winning is the expectation. And so as you know, winning, I tell my wife, with my daughter, anyone I come in contact, winning is probably the hardest thing you'll do in life. It's hard to win a youth soccer game. It's hard to win a business deal. It's hard to win be a candidate and win a job. Like winning is so hard, but don't let the process of winning, right? And losing is a part too, right? So that's why the wins feel so good. So, having great access to people like Drew Brees, right? I mean, you see this guy and you're like, man, he was on mission and then put our team on mission. And then the whole football team believed. Then you see the whole athletic department believe. Then the whole school believes, right? And we're still talking about him 25 years, right? And so you look at guys like a good friend of mine, Seth Morales, a good friend of ours, right? Seth and I play Little League Baseball together. His dad, Mr. Morales, was a coach, and we had an opportunity to do something special. And Seth makes the catch. I tell people I didn't make the catch, but I was a third receiver, and I look over to my shoulder. Who is Drew throwing the ball to? What's going on? We got to make a play. And I look and I see it's Seth, and I said, "Come on, baby, catch it." And Seth and I have practiced that play so many times. But you take guys who really believe and become great dads and businessmen, man. So,
and the catch you're referring to for our audience is Purdue versus Ohio State, right? And I believe it was fall 2000, right? And it's a great clip on YouTube. Brent Musburger with the call, right? Holy Toledo, I think, where Brees to Morales, and that touchdown sort of sealed the game to send you guys to the Rose Bowl, and you're the first guy that's kind of coming in and tackling Seth, right? That's a really cool clip.
Special time, and I want to be respectful of what IU football has achieved, right? As we land and talk about sports, man.
Yeah.
Those guys are doing what we did 25 years ago. And when I say what we did, it was not the magnitude. We didn't run the table or do anything. We, Drew was our Heisman candidate, but they have the Heisman. So I do want to be respectful and pay honor to them, and tell those guys congratulations.
Yeah.
As a native son of the city of Indianapolis, we're cheering them on. It pains me as a Purdue alum. I wish it was my school.
Yeah.
I do want to honor that, but represent the state. So
yeah, that's great. Well, I could have a lot more questions on that era, but I want to get into a little bit of just your life post Purdue. You came out of school, and I believe I don't know if it was your first gig, but did you have a stint working at the Hoosier Lottery? Was that your first job?
That was my first job.
Yeah, tell us what that was like. I don't know. I mean, I am aware of the Hoosier Lottery, but I don't know if I know anyone super well that's worked there. And what that taught you, and kind of those first 5 or 6 years out of Purdue.
Yeah, for sure, man. It's funny. I had someone ask me. I was at the ISHA state championship. They said, "Are you still at the lottery, man?" So that was a pretty impressionable job. It's like it still piqued some interest. But I worked for the lottery. I was a corporate sales rep, and so I would deal with the Village Pantries, the Krogers, and the larger accounts. And we'd go around and sell space, and people say, "Well, what space were you selling?" And so we would compete against back then the cigarette vendors or countertop space, and we'd have planograms. But it really taught me the bureaucracy of government, because then the Hoosier Lottery was still under the state government. It was a quasi agency, so it wasn't in the private space, right? And so I learned a ton once again about branding, marketing, creating experiences, all things that would then become important to me in the role that I'm in now. But it was a great opportunity to learn life. Right, and to stay active and interact with the community and still learn the brand of business. So that was a good time. So graduating college, I always had a dream of being an entrepreneur. Yeah. And I know I need to get public, private, and small business. And so that was my public stop. And so it was very beneficial for me. I think I worked for the lottery for almost 7 years. Okay. And so it was a great time. Had some access to some great leaders. Yeah. I was able to see big business be built out and see how communication happened, right? And so how you could influence those things. So it was a great time. Yeah.
Thanks for joining us here on Talent Scout. We're going to take a quick break to hear from our sponsor, so stay tuned. Most organizations hit a point where growth stalls. The message blends in, the site stops converting, pipeline softens. That's when I tell leaders about Prolific, the growth firm, for purpose-driven leaders. Through full-service marketing and strategy, they clarify the story, rebuild your go-to-market, and drive sales. Most importantly, Prolific holds itself accountable to the metrics that matter to you. If you're ready for your next growth stage, learn more about Prolific at prolifichq.com. Yeah. Where did you go after? And it's it shows a lot of wisdom on your part that you kind of had this game plan of I want to get public, private, small business experience. So, where did you go after the lottery?
Yeah, so I probably should kind of break it down. So as I'm choosing Purdue, I knew I wanted to get into business. I wanted to get into agriculture or construction, and took some ag econ classes. And I realized I didn't have 400 acres to invest in and become a farmer, right? And so I wanted to be into that space because I thought I could represent my community. And so in the construction space, I would see guys go to work, and in the community and neighborhood that I grew up in, I said, man, I want to lead those guys. I want to champion those guys. And so I wanted to do BCM. And so I ended up getting a business degree from Purdue. But my North Star was I wanted to have my own construction business, right? So to your point, the public was the Hoosier Lottery. Privately, I sold medical device equipment. And back in the day, if you can imagine, and it still is now, but man, as a former student athlete who didn't go to the NFL, your North Star was, hey, you got to go sell medical device equipment, right? And so I did that, and I really learned the art of the sale. And the sale to me, just how to ask questions, how to feel comfortable, how to compete without a ball being used. And so one of the things that I learned while at my private medical device stop was don't rely on your personality. And that was great information for me because, you see guys coming to the room and they're like, hey, how you doing? And that's all well and good, but they say your product is enough. And so that issue, the challenge to me is like, I need to find the right product. My product is enough. And if I have a great personality, it's awesome, but it's more important for me to deal with doctors who are performing surgeries. They need to rely on my product. They don't need to rely on AT, the person. They need to rely on the product, right? And then after that, I went into the small business space and I got some great exposure.
Backhaul Direct, right?
Backhaul Direct, Backhaul Direct, yep. So Greg Harris was over there, man. And I saw Greg. He did some great things. He had some great growth, and I was able to be a part of that and see that. And one thing that I appreciate from Greg was he gave me great visibility into how businesses run, good, bad, and indifferent, right? And he would call me in meetings, and we would talk about those things. And when I would get my paycheck, they would be great paychecks. He would say, "Hey, you see your paycheck?" I'm like, "Yeah, I see my paycheck. Thank you." And he said, "You see the name on the bottom of the paycheck?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's yours." He's like, he said, "My signature is no different than yours, and I think you can do this.
Wow.
And I want to be, I want to show you how." And so that was, for me, that was a great endorsement, right? And so I said, okay. And so I started down my entrepreneurial path, right?
Yeah,
so,
I want to ask you about that because you were an entrepreneur for over a decade as a minority business owner in the construction space. What was that experience like? Just insights gleaned, because that's hard work being an entrepreneur in any space, but then in that minority business owner space in construction, I know that's very competitive. So tell us about the company you started. I know you had a partner in that business and what you guys did.
So what we did, our first project that we ever did was Tarkington Park, right? So I want to thank Mayor Ballard for what he did and all the mayors, but I had a relationship with Mayor Peterson. But Mayor Ballard gave us the opportunity based off being an XBE contractor, right? And so
I didn't know that. That's right down the street from my house. Thank you.
So I try to take my daughter there, when the weather is appropriate, as much as I can, right?
It's getting a renovation right now too. They're doing more to it. They're
doing awesome. It's doing awesome work, and it's great for the community. So that was our first project, and the first generation entrepreneurial space is very challenging, let alone first generation XBE entrepreneurial space, right? And so I think that as you go into there, you think you're going to get what you do, get the opportunity, but you're going to just get awarded all this action and opportunity. And so in Indiana, it's a goal, it's not mandated, right? And so you have to do good business, right? And so you being an XBE is in addition to you doing good business, right? And so one of the things that it taught me at a very early stage of doing business is like, when you say you can do business, you got to be able to do business, right? If you say, and so we were in the subcontracting space, self-performing concrete, excavation, underground utilities. And so we would go around and chase McDonald's, Walmarts, fire stations. We would act as a subcontractor to the general contractor.
Got it. And what was the name of the firm again?
Excuse me, it's called Midwest Concrete. Midwest Concrete, and it's we've gone. It's since dissolved, but it was a good space for us, and so we learn how to do business, right? When you go into do business, you got to be able to say, "Hey, I can do it," and they don't want to hear why you can't. And so at the end, you say, "How much is left for me? Is it enough left for me or not?" Right? And so I did that, and I realized that I believe that my strengths would be used more on the we call it the inside, but just on the external facing inside part, put the deal together, put the project together. So the role I'm in now is very much appropriate.
So Tarkington Park was your first kind of break on a project, but then you would do work on. So when you said McDonald's, Walmart's, like if a new McDonald's was being built, you guys would go in. We would
bring the utilities to them, building pads, concrete pads, decks, things in that. We would be a sub of that. So we'd bring it to where they could form it up and then go from there. So we were on the front and then on the very end with the site package. And so we did some really cool jobs where I was able to do some work at Purdue. I was able to secure some work at Purdue. There's fire stations that we go past that we participated in. So it's some pretty cool drive sites when I get in the car and drive and talk to Avery about those things. Say, hey, Daddy helped have a part in this. Daddy helped have a part in that. So it was very much, it taught me a ton about life. and the seasons of life, and what are you going to do when things are good, and what are you going to do when things are not so good, right? And so I tell people, man, if you don't believe there's a God, get in construction, because you just how do things come together, right? And so it just really taught me, like, you have to work. You go through all stages of friendship through a building cycle of building a building. So
wow. Well, earlier this year, you took your current role, right, as a regional manager with McFarland, and I'm not sure if our audience will know McFarland, but they'll know some of the projects, right, that you guys are engaged in on a joint venture, effort here in Central Indiana. So maybe tell us a little bit about McFarland, the founder. I know he's got some Indiana ties, and just how this opportunity came about, and what you're working on there. Yeah, man, I appreciate you asking. So how it came about was, I believe it to be because of my faith. I similarly had not had any priors about McFarland Construction, and I was in the process of winding down my company, and I needed to refresh, and so I got a tap on the shoulder. It says, "Hey, we're looking to come to market, and you've been highly suggested to us, and we were told if we can get you, then close the book and get going." Yeah. And so Tino McFarland, who is our CEO, is an awesome man. He's doing awesome and wonderful things in the current market of North Carolina, in the Carolinas, actually. And so he's everything that I aspired to be when I was out on my journey, and he allows me to operate in that space, right? He allows me space to grow. He develops me. We talk. And so Tino is from South Bend, Indiana. And went to IUPUI, which is now IU Indy. Yeah. And got his BCM degree. And worked for Turner here in Indianapolis before moving to North Carolina. Yeah, Turner Construction. Yeah, Turner Construction. And so, and also we have another tie. Ben Wilhelm is our president. And so obviously the Wilhelm family. Yeah. And so, it's been a great opportunity for me to be in a leadership position, and to still be the native son, and put roots down here, right? Yeah. And so at McFarland, we're not coming to do one job. We're coming to put roots down. Yeah. We do really good business in the Carolinas, and we're going to bring those same practices here, and continue to create opportunities and jobs, and really create something special. So we're creating a movement, and it's already been done, right? And so the core values that we have are community, commitment, and collaboration. And those things are traveling across state lines, and so we're excited about the opportunity that we have, and I'm very much excited about the hat that I wear. Yeah. So Tino McFarland started McFarland Construction in the Carolinas. Yep. He's based there. Yeah. You're sort of one of the first hires in Indiana. What projects brought McFarland to Indy? Yeah, so we have some clients in the pharmaceutical space that we deal with, that we work with, the health science space, the financial space these are national clients that we have, and we've done good work. Yeah. And they like what we've been able to do. And they're so very excited that we're growing into the Midwest. Yeah. And so those are the kind of the verticals that we work in. So we work in the financial space, the mission critical space. Yeah. We work in the health sciences space, public-private partnerships. So, well, there's a pretty big pharmaceutical company here. I think I know who you're referencing, Eli Lilly and Company. So, you guys tell us about what you're doing at the LEAP District. Yeah. And for those that don't know, it's a pretty major development going on in Lebanon, and I know McFarland is involved there with F.A. Wilhelm, right? Correct. Okay. Yep. So we do great work with F.A. Wilhelm and Lilly, and out in the Carolinas, and so opportunity was offered to the McFarland Wilhelm team. And so we put a joint venture together, which is called the Foundry Partners. Yeah. And so in the Foundry Partners, we were able to go, and so we're doing some really cool opportunities for Lilly. We're not what you can see from the highway. We're recessed off the highway. That's called the Medicine Foundry. Okay. And so it's we're called the Foundry Partners is the name. So there's great opportunity there, and so it's been good. I've learned a ton. I've had some opportunities for growth. And you think when you work with those clients and you put a team together, there's going to be opportunities for growth. And
It has been, and I've just continued to be developed, and I'm very much appreciative of how I've been developed. And so I'm grateful for the McFarland team and the Wilhelm team, and for the Leap District. This is going to be great for the community. I mean, the opportunities that's going to come for generations. This is how it's pretty cool to see how legacies are continued and legacies are created. So yeah.
Now, in your role as regional manager, what's your portfolio or responsibilities? Your days look like?
Yeah, so getting boots on the ground, getting people to come and take a look at us as we go and build this thing out. We're looking for great talent, generational talent to come take care of these clients that we have. Making sure that the team that we have for the Foundry Partners is supported, and that we're doing things that way. So if you can just imagine just coming boots on the ground, trying to bring what we've done successfully, bring it across state lines and continue to grow it that way.
Well, this is great. I want to ask you a little bit about just the role of mentors in your life and some of the things you're doing outside of the day job, just community-wise. And, so with that, I'd like to know, obviously we've talked about your father a little bit, but maybe who was another mentor too that really believed in UAT and sort of changed your paradigm for what was possible?
Yeah, I think, and this is going to sound so cliche, Dave, I think it's the community believed in me. I think that there were some special people. Bill Mays, Bill wrote my letter of wrote me a letter of recommendation for some things that I applied for and positions that I applied for. You talk about Lacey Johnson. You talk about Sam Odell, Wayne Patrick, Don Palmer, Jim Morris. I mean, I have a list that I could go, and there'll be people that I missed, but Steve Jones. And there's some guys right now that are my age or younger that I look up to, right? We talk about Seth Morales, Fred Yakey, Brian Dinkins, those guys, right? And so there's some people that believe in me. There's one person I do want to call out. His name is John Andrews, man. And John is he'll probably blush and I hope he doesn't blush too bad. But John, for me, is someone that believed in me and gave me the kind of fostered the relationship between McFarland and I. And John is to me he's a walking miracle because John was literally on his deathbed. We thought we were going to lose John to cancer, and he's still alive to this day, and he's due to faith in medicine, right? And so I do want to call him out and tell him.
John's at Shield Sexton.
Yeah, John's at Shield Sexton, and I do want to publicly tell him thank you, and he'll harass me after, and that's okay. So and so I'm on the KIP board, KIP Indy, and so that keeps me grounded. Right. It's still in 462.
Tell our listeners what KIP Indy is. It's a school, but what's the size? Is it high school? Is it K?
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate you asking that. So KIP is K through 12.
Okay.
In the Martindale Brightwood community. And so I grew up in 46218. It's still in that community. It's the only high school in that community. And so worked with the Edna Martin Center. And so we have some community outreach opportunities that we do with the students, and it's really just want to make them feel the love and that the opportunity is still there, right? Because the community that they're growing up in now is still pretty challenging community. So a very strong board over there, and so I've had great board chairs and great people to learn from, and Don Palmer was monumental in getting that started. And so I was a fan of Don's, and Don wasn't on the board. And I was like, man, I got to find a way to meet Don. And so Stan Chin, Jim Keller, Ryan Vaughn, Barato Britt. I'm going to leave people out, but and I apologize, but just some great and awesome, wonderful
people. Is it a charter?
Yeah.
A charter
school.
Charter.
Thank you. Yeah, public charter. Yeah.
So serve on the board of KIP. Anything else kind of outside of McFarland and family right now that's lighting you up?
I being a dad. I see what my dad was. You know, I try to make myself accessible. So I still go to high school games or college games or tap kids on the shoulder and say, hey man, good game. You played great, and talk to the kids who are having those things. I think for me the value is being accessible, being a mentor to people who don't need they need a mentor, young and old, right? And so for me, my bucket gets really full from being a dad and a husband.
Mm-hmm.
I love being I'll try to go in order, grandson, a son, a nephew, a
Mm-hmm.
dad, a husband, a
Mm-hmm.
father,
Mm-hmm.
those things.
Yeah.
I wake up every morning excited to lead my family and
Yeah.
participate in community.
Yeah.
So
That's beautiful. Couple more questions.
Yeah.
What would be your best piece of advice for someone out there listening in their 20s or early 30s?
Yeah, for sure. Gamble on yourself if that's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Invest in yourself, maybe.
Yeah.
Let's say invest in yourself.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is if there's an opportunity for you to go and meet someone,
Mm-hmm.
or don't be afraid.
Yeah.
Right. Spend money to invest in yourself, and whether it be a suit or, hey, I'm going to send myself to this lunch and learn or to this skill development, invest in yourself that way. And then once you do that, apply it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, and then I would also tell people, if you're looking to get married, be who you are. Make sure there's a space for you to be who you are or who you see yourself being.
Yeah.
You need to share that with your partner.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. If you have aspirations of doing certain things, you need to share that on the front end so you can achieve those things.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think that living life with said partner is extremely important. And you have to communicate.
It's the most important business decision you'll ever make, right? Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
And it should be expected that you make the right decision.
Yeah.
Right. And there's gonna be times of ups and downs.
Yeah.
But you have to look at it that way.
Yeah.
So
that's great. Well, as a native son of Indianapolis, I'd love to hear what's your vision for the city? Where should we as a community be leaning into opportunities, as we look out over the next decade or two here in the city?
Yeah, I think we need to continue to reach across the aisle and just find a way to make relationships or grow the relationship. If there's someone who's sitting on a good relationship that's like, I need to reach out and call this person.
Yeah.
And you know what? You do.
Yeah.
Right. Go in, as I said earlier, go in and introduce yourself and say, hey, man, I don't know you, but I think I should know you. I've heard a lot about you. Right. And so Indianapolis is a humble city. It's almost to a fault. Right. It's time to go and project, say, we have some confidence. Let's go do something special.
Yeah.
Right. I think as I sit here next to you, like, you're special to me, man. I have no problem telling you that. Like, our relationship was intentional. Right. If you don't come up to me and I don't text you back, then we're not here, right? And so that's what the city needs, right? We need the older generation to empower our generation, but don't just hand it off to us. Stick with us, right? And it's a shared vision because the people before us have put a great vision together. It's just a matter of the information flowing up and down.
For sure.
Right. And it's precious information. So when the information is traded off, it's a vision. It's not a, I told you have to do it this way.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. It's sort of the why. You'll figure out the how, of how it gets done. Yeah.
Literally.
Well, as we sort of land the plane here, AT, I'm trying to ask every guest this question because I think there's different answers to it. But how do you define success?
Success for me is having an opportunity to compete. If I have an opportunity to compete, I like my chances.
Yeah.
But I have to put myself, the community, the city has to give people opportunities. I believe in people. And I believe when given the correct opportunity, they will succeed. But we have to make sure as a community, it takes a village. Right. And when you have the right village, you can succeed. Right. And succeeding means having your needs met and things of that nature. But I think the opportunity to succeed is just as important for the success to happen because I believe that success is a byproduct of the right opportunity.
That's great. That reminds me of the power of an invitation. That's right. You hear about some of the names you mentioned, some Titans, the Jim Morrises, the Sam Odles. They would tell stories of the generation ahead of them, inviting them to be a part of a local project, a sports initiative, be on a board. And that power of inviting, and for guys like you and I that might be now serving on some boards in the community, some schools, some nonprofits, don't underestimate the power of, when someone comes to mind that you think could be a great asset and advocate on this certain board, don't underestimate the power of an invitation. Say, hey, I've been thinking about you. I think you'd be great. Would you be willing to have this conversation? because people have done that for us, and we need to be thinking about, who can we intentionally pull in to the jet stream, right, of the community.
That's right.
And I know that's a passion of yours. It's a passion of mine. So having an opportunity to compete or making sure that we're heads up on who are we kind of giving a sense of belonging or an invitation
that's
to.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right. And it has no boundaries, right?
Yeah.
And that's, you can develop the individual, right? That's the art of the challenge, right? Like, hey, let's get after it. So,
well, AT, where can people find how to connect with you?
Yeah, so I would love for people to reach out to me on LinkedIn. Hopefully you'll see me around town or the city or state cheering on my favorite teams.
Yeah.
So that's tap me on the shoulder. That's what I really believe in, the power of as you said, of an invitation, right? I think that you tap people on the shoulder, you'd be surprised what you get out of people. So I do have Dave, if you will let me have a list of Titans, some that are with us and some that aren't, that I would like to do this. And so selfishly, if you hear someone, if people listening and watching hear someone's name called, I ask that they share this podcast, or they think about, man, I hadn't heard that name in a long time, or I remember this person. So I try to not use notes as much, but I do have a list of notes, and so the people that I like to speak to are that were Titans for me, and I know they stood on people's shoulders, was obviously Addison Simpson Sr., Reverend Charles Williams, Chris Beatty, Bill Somm, Jack Woodside, Amos Brown, Bill Shrewsbury, Tom Morales, Bill Mays, Gene McFadden, Steve Jones, Father Boniface Harton, Don Palmer, Jim Morris, Greg Enos, James Duke, Chris Kaufman, Dennis Hayes, Devin Schaefer, Kevin Hunt, Phil Kinney, Carolyn Beth Mosby, the Ursay family, Representative Greg Porter, Representative Bill Crawford, the Simon family, Dave Gaddis, Jeff Harrison, Justin Christensen, Robert Shegog, Barato Britt, Representative Andre Carson, Julia Carson, Wayne Patrick. Those are my Titans, Dave. And I left some people off, and I tell them now, and it almost saddens me, but thank you, right? Thank you for believing in me. And so this is where we are, and you have laid out where we have to go. And so you've been a great person, a great inspiration for the short time that we've known each other, right? And so I ask you to continue, let's show people the way with the opportunity that you have. And as two native sons, let's dare to be different, man,
Well, man, that's quite the list. That's really cool you put that together. Man, I appreciate you being on. You are a bright light. You're an encouragement to me and so many others. And you knowing you as a friend now for past 18 months, couple years, you are accessible, right? And I think that's another powerful lesson in friendship of just, you get back to people, right? And it's usually quick. I don't expect it, but it's, you're on it. And so if I'm ever, hopefully never, but if I'm ever in a pickle, I feel like you'd be one of my first phone calls, because I know you'll get back ASAP and probably pick up. But man, you're a gift to the city. I'm excited for your future. Excited to find ways to work together and link up. So,
thank you very much. Appreciate your time, Dave.
Appreciate you being on.
Yeah. You know it.